dancer.
That's what happened to me too.
Look at that. What you got over there? Over a open fire. So we're mining for jewels here. I don't think I'm doing this right. Okay, I think that's enough of that. Oh, that's true. You did it so simply.
It's the getting down is the hard part.
Look at her, like a ballet dancer.
That's what happened to me too.
Look at that. All right, what are you guys trying?
Deep fried Oreos. It's very hot. I don't think you should bite into that right now. Deep fried Oreos.
Take two.
Take the small one.
Actually not that bad.
That's interesting.
What do you think?
It's like a funnel cake with an Oreo
Yeah,
inside.
that's exactly what it is. Like funnel cake and Oreo put together.
Yeah.
The Oreo actually tastes chocolatey,
Yeah.
which normal Oreos do not. obstacle course. Yes.
You want to throw down your sweater?
It probably expands. Like if you stand up, you probably can go walk through it.
They're gonna get sued.
Pretty much.
I feel like this would be a really cool park with nature.
Today's a good day to go on these slides. You won't burn yourself.
Alright. Oh, I hear my echo. That's concerning. It's always a slide.
I think you just put it under you and close.
Yeah, just put it under you and close and then just float. You got it. Just hop up. Hop up and go. You gotta pull yourself up.
You gotta put one foot on there and just tilt.
So we're back from our cross-country trip. We were on the road for about 3 weeks. Neither of us are really good at taking video. We're kind of like just, in the moment as we do things, but we made the effort to take some video. And so we're gonna split it up into different episodes. And after each episode, we'll come here and give you a little bit of more reflections and insight into things we did on the trip.
So this time we decided to approach the trip a little differently. If you've been watching us, you know that our kids have been used to going camping. In our previous trip last year, we did all camping the whole time. We only stayed at campgrounds. But because our kids are getting older, they're teens, and they wanted to do something a little different, and we wanted to make sure that this family trip was something that all of us were super excited about. So for this trip, we mixed in our camping at different homesteads and campgrounds, with also some regular traveling things. So we went to like Las Vegas, and the kids got to pick out the hotel, and the kids were very instrumental in planning this trip. So we got to stop at a lot of different restaurants. Mike and the kids all, they all like going to restaurants and trying new foods. And then we also added to this trip, which we were really excited about, stopping at different cultural and historic places, so like museums and that type of thing that focus on Black history. So it was a whirlwind of a trip.
The way that I mapped out the trip, I used a lot of different references. Some places we already had contacts with through like Instagram or people that we met on Facebook, and then other parts of the trip we just had to kind of like do a search. There are these lists that float around of Black-owned campgrounds, and wherever possible we try to be intentional about supporting those spaces. They often don't get the same level of support as other institutions. The park that we landed at in Corbin, Kentucky was RV resort. We typically don't do RV parks. We like more like wooded, more rustic camping spaces. But it was a nice place, had a water park, had volleyball court, and like a sports activity center. When we got there, we were told that there was a waterfall nearby that has a moonbow, which is basically a rainbow that is formed by light reflecting off of the moon. So it happens in the evening as opposed to during the day when you would see a typical rainbow. Unfortunately, it wasn't a full moon, so there was no moonbow, but it was a pretty cool sight to see, and we definitely look forward to coming back and checking it out at a later date on an actual full moon.
So what Mike was saying about the campground list, that's something that, we definitely try to support those lists, but that's definitely one of the reasons we kind of lean into connecting with people on social media, because sometimes these lists may be incorrect or they're out of date. And sometimes it can be really hard, especially when you're traveling and when you're traveling for the first time. You can't necessarily depend on the accuracy of those lists. So we've had a couple of instances, including this time as well, where, we planned to go to a Black-owned campground, and it wasn't the experience that we were hoping for.
To that point, when we were on our way to go from Corbin, Kentucky to Memphis, we got a call from the campground we had reserved a spot at. It was another RV campground, and they were checking to see what time we would be checking in. And through having a conversation with the owner, once he found out that we were in a converted van, then he basically said, we're not allowed to camp there. And this is a thing that's been happening a lot, where RV campgrounds are starting to basically be more restrictive on the kinds of RVs, the kinds of vehicles that they will allow at the campground. And camper vans are on that list as being like unwanted. Part of it, I think, is the aesthetic. Like, they want people to pull up and see luxurious Class A, big, 40-foot RVs. They say it's like a safety concern where they don't know how it was converted. But one of the things we've been finding out is RVs are often like pretty crappy. Like, they fall apart a lot. They need a lot of maintenance. They have a lot of wiring issues. And so it's not like you're getting some guaranteed quality if you have an RV.
Yeah, we were super surprised and taken aback about that last minute cancellation. We were literally driving on the way there, so we had to kind of shift and kind of figure out what we were going to do, which was pretty unfortunate. We've converted this van. We consider it a luxury vehicle. We're very happy. We're not doing too bad here, but unfortunately, even when we tried to say, we didn't need any hookups, we could just stay off grid. The owner was just not willing to work with us at all. And for us, the two major reasons why we started Way Out and we focus on Black-owned spaces is because, one, in the spirit of cooperative economics, as Mike mentioned earlier, we want to support businesses that don't necessarily get that support. That's important. But two, also, it's just a matter of being in spaces that are welcoming and affirming and are willing to work with us with like a generosity of spirit, or look out for us, knowing that, unfortunately, across America, Black people are often not looked out for.
We want to feel we're in welcoming spaces, not just spaces where we're allowed to be or just tolerated in the spaces.
We're veterans at this. We're veterans at traveling, so it wasn't hard for us to kind of switch gears. Mike was able to go to Overland, and we kind of figured out our next step, our next plan, and we ended up just parking on a street near a riverfront park, which is what you've seen the footage of, and it was an amazing experience. And so sometimes, the universe brings changes into your orbit that work out for the best. And this was one of those cases. If we would have gone to the RV park as we planned, we probably would have never found that, chanced upon that riverfront walk. And the kids and us, we had an amazing time there. And it's definitely a place that we would want to check out. And Memphis was actually a beautiful city, and we were able to see that a little bit more, actually staying in the city on a street block.
Our time in Memphis, one of the things we did was we went to the National Civil Rights Museum. We found out that they were going to be closing close to the time that we were getting there, but we managed to get there with about an hour to spare.
Yeah, it was an amazing museum. The kids actually loved it. It was very interactive. And one of the things that I've been learning is, a lot of the times when we talk about museums, we think about the big cities, so museums in New York or even DC. We've gone to the National African American History Museum in DC. But some of these smaller cities, these southern cities, their museums around Black history, civil rights, and Black culture are absolutely fantastic. And if you do make it to these cities, you should check out their exhibits. They usually present a lot more kind of local and community experience, I think details that you would not even know. So like in this particular museum, you can like literally see like local letters written in the past. So it just really brings like that history home. And it was just a fantastic museum.
The first thing you see when you pull up to the museum, you see like a sign that says like the Lorraine Motel. And it was just kind of like, striking because I've seen that in like documentaries, like Eyes on the Prize. I've seen it in so many books and photos. I instantly recognized that sign. And then as we went through the exhibit, we asked people and we found out that the actual museum is the Lorraine Motel. They have a reef at the specific balcony where Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. So it just really creates this like deeper sense of connection being in that space because it's such a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement.
Yeah, it's like you're in space, across time. And it's something about being in the same space that just made that museum feel so much more, powerful or reverent.
Yeah. So other than that, we went to a restaurant called Soul Fish in Memphis. Food was great. It's a typical kind of like soul food, Southern fare, catfish and, shrimp and, okra and stuff like that.
And it had a real like down home kind of environment. It's pretty cool.
Before we part, we wanted to have a quick moment for, I guess, some way out thoughts or way out thinking. We talk about often when we're seeking out spaces that are affirming, where we feel a sense of belonging. It seems like the obvious choice is to look at Black-owned spaces. And so we wanted to kick out to you like this topic. And one of the things we've realized is that Black-owned doesn't necessarily mean that you are entering a space that is Black-affirming. For instance, the one campground we went to, it was listed as Black-owned, but when you're actually in the space, there are hardly any identifiably Black people who are around. And so
either there as patrons or even employed or working there. On the flip side, the place that Mike mentioned that had the good food, the Soul Fish Cafe, I had an amazing catfish salad there that was so delicious. That place wasn't Black owned, but it employed a lot of Black people, and a lot of the patrons there were Black, and it was a diverse crowd of all races. And so, yeah, technically that's not Black owned, but when we felt there, we felt very welcomed. And we enjoyed it. We enjoyed our the food there. So, this conversation about, supporting Black-owned businesses, we definitely believe in that, but we wanted to kind of throw out to you some of the conversations we've been having on what that actually means in practice.
So I guess the question being like, what to you makes an affirming space? What does Black-owned mean to you? And if you had to go beyond Black-owned, like what would be the things that you would look for in a space that would make you feel a sense of belonging in that space?
So stay tuned. We have many more parts of this journey left, and we're excited to share them with you.